The Unfallen Man by Peter V. Ross. A challenge to difficulties. Have you ever given yourself a Christian Science treatment? If not, you have overlooked a priceless privilege. A treatment consists in talking with yourself, silently maybe, or aloud if you choose, setting forth what manner of man you would like to be, quite confident all the time that the man you would like to be is the man you genuinely are this moment. So right at the start, challenge the difficulty confronting you, whether it has to do with your health, your business, or your personal affairs. Challenge it as having no more than a temporary or seeming existence. You have done this many times in your experience, even before you heard of Christian Science. You have stood up and stoutly denied and denounced afflictions that were trying to overcome you. You have taken up war against a sea of troubles, and, by force of your protest against the injustice, won the day. You had important work to do, engagements to keep, business to transact. You just could not afford to be incapacitated. You took hold of yourself and faced the traffic, confident that you could carry on. And you succeeded because, in doing your best, you laid hold of that inner energy which permeates every man and constitutes his very being. Protest against imposition. Right now, I recall a letter written by Mary Baker Eddy to her brother when she was a girl, wherein she dwelt upon the cold she was suffering from, not so much in giving it a build-up as in protest against the bothersome imposition. Every normal person rebels against distress, and he makes the rebellion more intelligent and effective as he discovers what frail and transient things are the aches and pains or everyday experience. And when he sees one of them go down under his valiant opposition, he outwardly proves what he inwardly feels, to wit, that he has dominion. You are the master of the situations which face you from day to day, not through any personal power of your own, but by virtue of the all-knowing mind which sustains and governs the universe, and which sustains and governs you as part of that universe. This mind is the only mentality there is, since there cannot be two or more conflicting mentalities in a well-ordered universe. This very mind enables you to follow my argument. Indeed, it makes that argument. There is no other mind. It directs, if you permit, your business, your footsteps, your daily affairs. It directs every function of your being, whether you call that function circulation, respiration, assimilation, or what not. Which means that you never stray beyond the Almighty's care and propulsion. The one mind. Hence it is that there cannot be any of that inaction or overaction which constitutes disease in any part of your system. Mind charges you with the intelligence necessary to perceive that sickness in all its forms is baseless deception. It is of purer eyes, as Scripture avers, than to behold iniquity. So too are you. You can see only the healthful, the normal, the pleasing, and truly can experience none else. There is no mind to conceive disease or produce it or project it into your experience. You have no mentality that can fear or feel or experience disease. For after all, there is one mind only, and that good or God. As you remind yourself of these fundamentals, you see why it is that you have always challenged suffering and limitation, and with greater or less success. You simply have been unable to believe or accept them. You have challenged impediments to success, scarcely knowing why. Now you have the reason. You see that you have that all-knowing mind. It inheres in you. It is you. It is what you mean when you say, I. It affords you the acumen, the wisdom, the resourcefulness you need for finding employment and for doing the work once it is found. It gives you the capacity for carrying on business enterprises or succeeding in the profession you have chosen. Sight and hearing. The human senses, so we all recognize, are inadequate. At best, we do not see or hear or remember with the keenness we desire. And at the worst, these faculties seem to decline. What can you do about it all? You can do a great deal. You can remind yourself, and this frequently, that since man is the noblest work of God, he is well made and equipped for an indefinite period of usefulness. The architect who constructed him did a thoroughly good job and guaranteed his product to endure. Therefore, do not overlook the importance of declaring to yourself, I am whole, sound, intact, and at peace. I am made of enduring substances, fitly joined together. And above and beyond all this, keep in thought that sight, hearing, and other faculties are faculties of the all-knowing mind, that this mind is yours, and hence that these infallible senses we are discussing are yours, quite out of reach of impairment. You may be surprised to see how your sight and hearing improve as a result of this sensible argument. Original sin. You cannot help but observe, as you look out in the world, that mind is in operation everywhere, mighty and beneficent. The colors, the formations, the innumerable types of life are constant specimens of the creativeness and government of divine intelligence. And what you see, after all, is only a hint of their genuine grandeur, because we do not discern through the physical senses things in their fullness and perfection. Why is it that we view the world and ourselves so dimly? Because through some perversity or other, we have classified ourselves as material mortals, dull and heavy in thought, action, and vision, when the fact is we are spiritual, and that throughout our whole economy. We are made of intelligence. You should say to yourself many times a day, I am intelligence, and as such, immune to restriction and danger. Safe premises. In this mood do men go through epidemics, collisions, and battles unscathed. They are knowing the truth that makes men free and secure. Only in that mistaken state, when a man regards himself as corporeal, do disease and disaster lurk. In his better moments, he well nigh ascends above that treacherous zone. In those moments, he nears the height of a Christian Science treatment. For when one is at his best, he does not argue a proposition, he knows it. This is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. And who is this thee? It is the all-knowing mind, the ever-pervading spirit, the abounding life, which not only permeates man and the universe, but is man and the universe. It is your very substance and essence. And who is the Christ? He is the ideal man. He is you, if you will only admit it and play the part. When you are in this temper, disease and despair will have a difficult time entering your premises. There is no law more certain of fulfillment to him who accepts it than the law of perfect God and perfect man. You may not be able to prove it in its entirety. I am not asking you to prove it, but only to declare, perfect God and perfect man, and I am that man. This very admission will carry you a long way on the road to actual demonstration. Take that step, humbly of course, but also confidently and expectantly. Certainty of life. When it comes to certainties, what is more certain than life? It is the all and the only of your being. You cannot question that you live. You cannot conceive of a time when you have not lived or when you will cease to exist. The learned have sought for the origin of life. They have wondered how it is initiated. But life always was. It never was created or made. It always will be. There is no power to bring it to an end, because life is the sole and exclusive power of this universe. It has no enemies. It is the jealous God who tolerates no opposition or interference. And this life retains its energy and vitality and endlessness when individualized in you. Immediately you admit these stirring facts in your own behalf, you will grow in health and manliness. And yet, after all, you do not need these verbal reminders. Every moment you feel the thrill, the vitality of life throughout your entire area. Life is so near that it constitutes your very self. It is you. Jesus was indulging no fancy when he said, I and my Father are one. You will be surprised to see how easy it is for you to say, I and everlasting life are one. And when you begin to talk this language of continuous being, recognizing that this existence is your own, you will be well on the road out of the illusions of human perplexity. Constructive conversation. When can you talk with yourself? Well, there is little time when you do not talk with yourself. You do so on the side when you converse with others, perhaps questioning, had I better tell them this or that? In the busy hours of work, in the quiet hours of rest, your conversation runs on uninterruptedly. Make it a sensible, a stimulating, a healthful conversation. Do not let it persuade you that this is a tough world, full of injustice and frustration and suffering. Give it an upward direction of hope and faith. Of course, you get a little doubtful at times, but even then you can recall and remind yourself of glorious glimpses of reality you had a day or two before. And if you cannot actually bring them back, you can at least recite or picture them. You can say, "All this turmoil cannot be true or lasting, because the heart of the Eternal is so wonderfully kind." Why do these arguments and realizations and insights improve your condition? Because they are true, and truth is mighty and will prevail. They are the truth about you. Someday, if you will persevere in sensible self-conversation, that truth will dawn upon you. You will emerge from the mesmerism of mortality to find that you are not of the earth, earthy, for there is no mortal man. You will find that you are of heaven, heavenly, the Son of the Eternal. Small wonder that men so persistently seek the truth, is it? The reason that talking as though one were immortal, more or less miserable and useless, brings punishment, is that the argument is definitely sinful. Sin is any dissent from truth. Hence, be accurate. Be truthful in your estimate of yourself, insisting, regardless of present appearances, that you are the temple of the living God, that gathered in you are all the glowing ingredients of exuberant life, that you are no less than a synthesis of qualities that endure. Yes, truth imparts its own mightiness to the man who embraces it. Mixed consciousness. People are in the habit of speaking of man as made up of soul and body, as though he were a pair or double. In recent times, they have come to use the word consciousness in place of soul. And this is a great help toward clear thinking, because everyone knows, in a way, what consciousness is, while soul is a rather elusive term. About the best definition you can give of yourself is to say, "I am an individual consciousness." This is quite in line with Mrs. Eddy's teaching, as you know. To appearances, one seems to be a mixed consciousness of both good and evil, of both health and sickness. But above and beyond all this, he has the power to repudiate evil and illness as none of his, and to claim health and goodness as his right and heritage. When he does this, he practices Christian Science. He will find that indisposition and age will recede, while strength and longevity will more definitely come into experience. Capacity for expansion. This transformation comes about because man is mental all the way through. It is a mischievous mistake to try to divide him into both a mentality and a materiality. When one recognizes that he is mental throughout, he understands why an improvement in his mentality will result in an improvement in his whole being. This improvement, which comes about as one habitually rehearses the truths we have heretofore set forth, and denounces the evils occasionally referred to, will continue until limitations and infirmities are swallowed up of spirituality with its boundlessness. Then will soul manifest itself in him, in its richness and everlastingness. He will appreciate what Walt Whitman is driving at when he writes, "I do not doubt that I am limitless. In vain I try to think how limitless." When the question comes, what about this avoirdupois of 120 or 180 pounds, as the case may be? Well, yours has been changing a great deal within the past few years. It has increased or diminished in bulk, maybe, or it has improved or deteriorated in form. This body, in one sense, is only your opinion of yourself, and it is to be hoped that you have changed your opinions on all important issues easily once a year. Your concept or opinion of the body will change, and in the right direction, as you change your talk with yourself. In the case of Enoch, this change was pushed so far that he walked with God and was not. The transformation may not go that far with you, but it can and it will go so far under the impulse of healthier thinking and talking that you will be less and less aware of this body, and it will be better and better behaved. It will be more prepossessing to your friends. Even this advance is worth working for, is it not? The ultimate cannot be less than pleasant to contemplate. Let's forget about these confusing descriptive words, soul and body. Insist that you are nothing more or less than an intelligence or an individual consciousness. Then are the potentialities for improvement unloosed. If you will begin each day, when you wake up, with the determination to keep thought and conversation under control, you will have the satisfaction, as the months roll by, of finding yourself mentally, soulfully, and even bodily nearer the pattern shown in the Mount. Hitch your wagon to a star, recommends Emerson. Lay hold of the immensities of life, which is not difficult when life is as close as hand or breath. Then will you gather might from omnipotence, wisdom from omniscience, protection from omnipresence. Is it not plain that the benign power which sustains and directs the earth in the vast open spaces of heaven upholds, supplies, vitalizes, instructs, comforts, and immortalizes you? Admit the undeniable fact every hour of the day. Amplify it in your own way and words. Thereby will you protest the truth which removes obstructions. Your wagon speeds up. Strength, vision, and hearing with which to enjoy the journey spring into normal action. You are a synthesis of the qualities and powers of Supreme Being. Acknowledge it and be free. Of course, you keep in thought all the time that perfection is your present and constant status. Abnormal action of any sort, whether too slow or too fast, has no more actuality than the emotions and movements pictured on the cinema screen. Hence, the non-existence of disease and mortality. They are shadows to disappear with enlightenment. The whole healing process is a letting in of that mind which knows nothing about them. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in.